And now, without further ado, Rabbi Netanel Isaacs from Kehillat Chovevei Torah in Skokie.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. I just want to start off by giving a very big yashar koach and a thank you to the CRC for all they have done until now for the current situation we find ourselves in. All of us were suffering physically, spiritually, and emotionally, and the CRC has been there at the front lines in every circumstance that we find ourselves in. I want to give a specific thank you to Rabbi Mostavsky, the leadership, Rabbi Rees Shlita, Rabbi Matenki Shlita, and the president, Rabbi Shanan Gelman, my colleague. May Hashem give you the koach to continue, Mechayel El Chayel, to cater to our beautiful community for many, many more years to come. And it's my pleasure and honor to be here for this unbelievable unified occasion. L'kavod Chag HaShavuot Haba Aleinu L'Tova. I want to share with you two stories. Two stories that hopefully will increase your attention and inspire you towards this holiday of Shavuot. The University of William and Mary University in the town of Williamsburg, Virginia, in 2012, had an extraordinary story that happened to them. At the university, in one of the philosophy classes, after a long semester, one of the professors came to the finals and he proposed to the class a very abnormal, out of the ordinary final. And he arrived in the classroom. Everyone was awaiting for something extraordinary, an essay, some unique, hard question about philosophy. However, the professor took his chair and he placed it on his desk, his leather chair, and he placed it on the desk. And he looked at his classroom and he looked at all the students and he told them, "I'm going to ask you one question, and this is going to be your final. Please prove to me that this chair does not exist." Surprisingly, all the students looked at each other. We didn't prepare for this. We were preparing for something a lot deeper than this question. Everyone starts fumbling around in their chair. However, in the back, there was this wise, clever Pakistani student. His name was Nasruddin. And in 30 seconds, Nasruddin wrote something on his paper. He walked up to the front desk. He put his paper upside down and he left the classroom. The rest of the class took their time, thought deeply. What is the professor asking us? What is he really asking us? And they spent hours upon hours writing whatever they came up with from all the lessons they learned throughout the semester. And everyone gave in their essay. A week later, there was a commotion in the courtyard of the university. And there was a commotion discussing this essay. Word got around the campus that the only person, the only student that passed this test was Nasruddin. And all the classmates, they came running to him. They said, "Number one, you spent the least amount of time writing the answer. And number two, what did you write on the end of the essay, on the final, that made you pass the test? We're so curious. We spent hours trying to figure out the answer." And Nasruddin looked at them and he said, "I wrote two words. I wrote, what chair?" I'm hoping to hear some laughs, but clearly everyone's muted. That's the first story. In the 1970s, the mashgiach of the Mir Yeshiva was a great scholar known as Rabbi Levenstein. And a story is told about an experience that Rabbi Levenstein had in a cab. One day, he was getting a ride from his home to yeshiva. And in the front was a regular, typical Israeli cab driver, ready to tell him his life story like almost everybody goes through at every cab drive in Israel. And the cab driver, the money driver, tells him, Rabbi, I got a story for you. It's gonna blow your mind away. Okay, tell me the story. I don't know how much time we have. I don't live that far. But go ahead, I would love to hear your story. He says, Rabbi, you know, when I went to the Israeli army, and when I finished the Israeli army, after every typical Israeli soldier was a lot more common in those days, we went on a trip, on a backpack trip in Africa. Spent some time off to find ourselves in Africa. And we were in the middle of the jungle. Me, my friends, there were 3 of us. Me, my friend, and another individual. And as we were in the middle of this jungle, out of nowhere, a snake grabbed my friend and wrapped himself around my friend. It wasn't a typical snake. It was a boa constrictor, which takes the life out of you, out of strangling you to death. And me and my friend, we were looking at the third person, at our third friend. And we asked him, we can't really do anything for you. We can't really shoot you. That's not so wise. What do you have to say at your last moments? And Rabbi, you know what happened? Said the cab driver. My friend closed his eyes. He thought it was his last moment on this earth. And he said with his full heart, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And Rabbi released and went off. True story. Rabbi, the story doesn't end there. You know, this Rabbi, this friend of mine, he became religious. He has a long beard. He's fully Haredi. The rabbi turned to the cab driver, to the money driver, and he said, you were there. What about you? And the cab driver, with all sincerity, turned back to the rabbi, Rabbi Levenstein, and said, Rabbi, were you not listening? The story didn't happen to me. The story happened to him. If I were to ask you, in all of history, what was probably the biggest and the most important nomination, the most important and prestigious position ever given to a human being? I think as Jews, I'm sure with no doubt, everybody that's listening would pick the nomination of the role of being the one who is going to bring down and give the Holy Torah to the Jewish nation. However, when we look at the story of Moshe Rabbeinu's nomination to his position, it is presented in a quite peculiar way. The Torah tells us in Parshat Shemot, Perek Gimel, Moshe haya ro'eh son Yitro. Moshe started the tradition of working for your father-in-law. He was being a shepherd for his father-in-law. Kohen Midian, the priest of Midian, Vayinhag et hatzon achar hamidbar, and he led the cattle into the desert. Vayavo el har ha'elokim choreva, and he arrives at the mountain of God. Vayar malach Hashem elav belabat esh mitoch hasneh, and the angel of heaven appears to him in a fire through a burning bush. Vayar v'hineh hasneh boer ba'esh. The bush is burning. V'hasaneh enenu ukal. However, the bush itself is not disintegrating. It's sitting in its full stature as a burning bush. The Torah continues. Vayomer Moshe. Moshe says, Asura na ve'er'eh et hamar'eh hagadol hazeh. Let me go see this great scene. Madua lo yiv'ar hasneh. Why is this bush not burning? And the Torah continues. And the Torah says, Vayar Hashem kisar lir'ot. Hashem saw that Moshe Rabbeinu turned to look. Vayikra Elokim mitoch hasneh. And Hashem calls him from the bush. Vayomer Moshe, Moshe. And he cries out, Moses, Moses. Vayomer hineni. He says, I'm here for you, God. I'm listening to you. Let me ask you, if I was in the position of giving someone this sacred mission, this sacred position, this is the way I'll do it. I'll bring him out to the desert in the middle of the day, make him climb a mountain, make him see something, call him out. This was the biggest, most spiritual position in all of humanity. This is the way you do it? That's number one. Number two, I would like to ask, in the beginning of Parshat Yitro, Vayishma Yitro, Yitro heard everything that happened to the Jewish nation. This is the story right before Kabbalat HaTorah, right before the climax of Sefer Shemot. We were waiting for this. The Gemara tells us in Masechet Zvachim on Daf Kutet Zayin and with Bet. When did Yitro arrive to the desert? Did he come before the Torah was given, or did he come after the Torah was given? And it's actually a dispute. And the Gemara says, Itmar, B'nei Rabbi Chiya Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. There was a dispute between Rabbi Chiya and Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Chad Amar Yitro Kodem Matan Torah Haya. Some say that Yitro arrived before the giving of the Torah. Chad Amar Yitro Achar Matan Torah Haya. Some say that Yitro arrived after Matan Torah. Now let me ask you, according to the position, according to the opinion that Yitro came after Matan Torah, why was it necessary to place this story before the giving of the Torah? It removes the focus of the whole story of Matan Torah. Not only that, it took away from the name of the Parsha. The Parsha now is called Yitro. Why would you remove and misplace the most important part of the Torah? Why was it necessary to place the story of Yitro before the story of Matan Torah, if it happened after? These are the two questions I have for you. And I believe The answer to these questions are a tremendous lesson for what the Torah wants from a Jew by accepting the Torah. You see, God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, was looking for a very specific quality for the leader of the Jewish nation. Hashem wanted to see, are you an individual that walks through life and just looks at things? Do you see what's going on around you? Do you absorb what you see going on in the world? Are you a person that can look at a chair and say, what chair? Are you able to look at the obvious and deny its truth? Are you so caught up in life that you don't recognize what's going on around you? Are you not open to see when God is talking to you? God wanted to see if Moshe Rabbeinu can look at something and turn away. Once Hashem saw that, look at this man. He doesn't just see things and moves away. Even a bush that's burning a little bit out of the ordinary, he stops and he thinks and he moves towards it and he wants to learn from it. Every episode in life is meant to learn from. It's meant for you to grow. Every episode is there for us to grow. Yitro was placed before the story of Matan Torah to teach us that this is the preparation for Kabbalat HaTorah. This is the Torah attitude. The Torah attitude, before you accept the Torah, is to understand that everything that happens is meant to learn from. And that is a whole mind shift on how we view the Torah. Torah is not an academic or an intellectual activity. Many times we are intrigued by how sharp and wise and the wisdom of the Torah enlightens us in so many different ways. But how do we look at the Torah? How do we view the Torah? Do we view the text and the messages as something that talks to ourselves, our identity? Does it pierce our hearts? Does it make a difference in our life? There was a great Chinese philosopher. His name was Lao Sha. And he once said that the longest distance in the world is from the head to the heart. You see, in the beginning, in the tefillah by right before Shema in Ahavat Olam or Ahava Rabbah, depending on your nusach, we say something very interesting. Avinu Av Harachaman, Hamerachem, Rachem Aleinu. Our dear Father, please have mercy on us. Atei b'libeinu vina lehavin lehaskil. Give our hearts the understanding to understand. And the Mefarshim point out is that our understanding doesn't come through our hearts. If we want to understand something, the tefillah, the Anshe Knesset HaGadolah should have said, give our minds the ability to understand. However, the depth of the Torah is far beyond our minds. The Torah belongs in our hearts. You know, we spend thousands of dollars on our children's education, more specifically, on our children's Jewish education. But when our child comes home and shares with us something new that they learned in school today, Daddy, Mommy, you know what I learned today? That you're supposed to wash your hands before you eat bread. Now we have a choice how to respond to that if we are not accustomed to do that. We could either shrug our shoulders and say, no, we don't do that. Or we can say, you know what, let's try that. If we brush away the things that our children bring home, we are increasing the distance between the mind and the heart. Right before Shavuot, the most important thing that we have to work on by accepting the Torah is not only its laws, its details, it's our attitude towards accepting the Torah. Are we ready to let the Torah sink in all the way into our hearts? Or do we create a barrier between our minds and our hearts? That is the proper way to prepare for Shavuot. On Shavuot, it's not only about the information that was given to us. It's about understanding and appreciating how deep and how meaningful life can be. Wishing everybody an amazing Shavuot. I hope you enjoyed.
Shkoyach, Rabbi Isaacs.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Isaacs. Appreciate the shiur and the Divrei Torah.